What's up, everyone? I'm Tony Durhammer, owner of Hammer Tech Racecars. We're back in the shop. Hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. I got to spend some time with family and friends, and it was great. So, it's Wednesday. You know what that means. We're doing our weekly series that we call What's Your Problem? Wednesday. This is a series that we talk about 3 topics in the racing industry and help get you guys some more information and bring some more knowledge and maybe some more success to your racing careers. So that's our value exchange. We provide the info, you guys help share it for us. So if you get some more information out of this, it helps you change your perspective on how you're going to do things. You know, do us a solid, share our content for us. So that's all we're trying to do, is get you guys the information you need to be more successful and have more fun out there racing. So our 3 topics we're going to talk about today are the wheelie bars, tire selection, and wheel selection. So 2 and 3, they kind of go together, but that's our 3 topics we're going to talk about. So let's start with the wheelie bar. Now, I hear these stories a lot of a buddy of a buddy of a buddy of a buddy. It goes on and on, but this guy's car is wheel standing, and they automatically say, you need wheelie bars on that thing. Well, that may be the case, but why are you putting the wheelie bars on? Do you know what they do? So that's what we want to discuss. Wheelie bars can help you from wheel standing if used properly, but more than likely, if you're going out there and wheel standing, there's probably some settings that are off in your car that are making you wheel standing. Wheelie bars are just going to be a band-aid that are going to help fix that. So you need to fix the root issue. Wheelie bars are just going to be that band-aid. So what we use wheelie bars for is to create wheel speed. Now, wheel speed needs to be controlled. It needs to be consistent to where, you know, you can have too much wheel speed, you're going to blow the tires off. You can have not enough wheel speed, your tire's going to distort, it's going to cup up, you're going to shake, you're going to blow the tires off. So there's a fine line of too slow and too fast of wheel speed. Now, how do you dial that in? Once you get it close with your combinations of 4-link settings, shocks, all that stuff, your fine-tuning adjustments can be tire pressure, can be your wheelie bar settings. So when you put the wheelie bars on, you can fine-tune that wheel speed to get it just consistent, to where if you leave the line and you miss the tune-up by just a little bit and it tries to dead hook the tire, that wheelie bar is going to help you create that wheel speed and save your pass. If it's too fast, your wheelie bar is not going to help you. It's never going to hit the ground. You're just going to haul out there and blow the tires off. So that's what we use wheelie bars for. It's just a tool to create wheel speed consistently. So now that we know what we use them for, what materials can I make these things out of? There's lots of guys that make wheelie bars. They vary from 4130 to titanium to carbon fiber. There's pros and cons to each version of that. Most guys affordably start with the 4130 stuff. It's your cheapest option. It's, if made correctly, going to be very rigid and strong. The only downfall is it's going to be heavier than the titanium or the carbon fiber. So let's talk about the titanium version of that. Now, it used to be thought that titanium was just going to be, I'll replace everything that was made in a 4130 bar with titanium. And guys have tried it, but they found that titanium actually flexes more than the 4130. So what we tell them is, if you're going to run titanium bars, you can run the titanium lower, but run the upper bars still 4130. So you get the lightweight advantage of, half of your wheelie bar being titanium, but you still have the rigidity of the 4130 upper bars to where it's not going to bow and flex when it hits the ground. The carbon fiber version is going to be your most expensive. They're very rigid. They work extremely well. A lot of the top guys that are, hauling the mail, doing these 360s, 370s, they all have the titanium wheelie bar, or the carbon fiber wheelie bar, sorry. But the only downfall to the carbon wheelie bar is if you do have an issue at the track and you end up breaking it or something like that, it's going to be next to impossible to repair at the track. So these are the things that we weigh out when we're getting somebody to say the wheelie bars. now that we know what material we're going to start with, let's say it's a 4130 wheelie bar. Used to be the guys would run like an 1.25" tube upper wheelie bar. The 1.25" tube worked well in the lower horsepower stuff, but now you guys are making so much power that we actually had to step it up. So now all of our wheelie bars use an 1.5" upper wheelie bar tube. So there's almost no deflection on these wheelie bars, so that when that wheel contacts the racing surface, it does what it's supposed to and relieves that rear tire to help it spin, which creates our wheel speed. Now, there's two combinations of the wheelie bar. There's a single wheel, which is in the center of the wheelie bar, and there's the dual wheel, which you see a lot. Both work extremely well to create wheel speed. So why do I want to go to the dual? Well, the dual gives you an added adjustability of, if you need to steer that car just a little bit with the front tires in the air, you can do it with a dual. Or if you need to unload one side versus the other, you can stagger that adjustment just the tiniest a bit to help steer that car and get the wheel speed you need on both tires. So I like to run the dual just because of the added benefit. You know, if you're going to be putting wheelie bars on, why not have all the tools that you need at your hands to make it go down the track? So I like to run the dual. Now, the length can vary from, you know, your 60-inch wheelie bar, 75-inch wheelie bar, 84-inch wheelie bar. There's guys that still run the 96. It used to be the rule of, I think it was like 102 inches from the center of the wheel to the center of the wheelie bar wheel was the longest you could go, which made your wheelie bar a 96-inch wheelie bar. With the 96, with it hanging way out there, you got to think how much force is on that thing. It's going to have a lot of bow, a lot of deflection in that wheelie bar. So we kind of went away from the 96-inch length and started running the 84. The 84 is going to be your pro mod guys, your big horsepower guys with a lot of tire on the ground. The next step, the 75-inch, would probably be more of your top sportsman guy that doesn't need the 84-inch, but still wants some adjustability on his car. So the 60-inch stuff is going to be your shortest wheelie bar that we'll make. Those guys are not going to be your 2,000 plus horsepower guys. They're going to be your average guy that goes to the track. So the length is going to determine your wheelie bar setting as well, because you think that rear end is your pivot point. So when the front tires come up, the longer that wheelie bar gets, the higher you need to have it off the ground. So if your front rises, say 4 inches, your back, if it's an 84-inch wheelie bar, is going to, let's just say 6 inches. On a 60-inch, it's going to be like 4 inches. So you got to think of that ratio in your wheelie bar setting determined on length. Now, the wheelie bar is an awesome way to consistently create that wheel speed. You see this even, you know, not that long ago on the top fuel cars. They didn't even have it mandatory where they had to have a wheelie bar. Now they all have wheelie bars, and even some tricks that create that wheel speed for them without using the wheelie bar, which I won't get into because I know if I do, there's going to be some guys showing up at my door saying, man, you need to stop making these videos, you telling all our secrets. But the wheelie bar is a great tool to help you create that wheel speed consistently and keep you going down the track. So the next thing we're going to talk about is your tire selection. Now, tire selection can be a pretty daunting task to figure out what you want. I see this a lot with these guys. They come in and they're like, man, I don't know what tire to run on this thing. Well, some classes that you run, say if you're a radial car, you know, you have to run a 275 or a 315, or if you're a small tire guy, you got to run that certain, you know, the rules will dictate what tire you have to be in. But let's say there's no rule. What tire do I need to run? First thing I look at is how much space do we have in the car? How much room do I have to, you know, what's the inside gonna hit? It's gonna hit your 4-link bars, it's gonna hit your shocks to your body. So how much room do I have to work with in that car? And do I need to use all that room? If you're, You know, you got a 800 horsepower 1973 Camaro, you're not going to go run your 17-inch Hoosiers on it, you know. You want to narrow that tire down where it's the maximum amount that you can use consistently. You see these guys hauling the mail on these small tire cars, but they've figured out that the smaller the tread contact on the asphalt is, that they can run quicker because there's no restriction of unused tire on the ground. Now, if I'm a really high horsepower guy, I'm going to try to run as much tire as I can get on the ground. That's just me personally. That's the way I like to do it. I try to get as wide a tire as I can get on the ground, get as much rubber to the ground as I can, and then if I need to create wheel speed, I can do it with, you know, all my settings, my forelinks, my wheelie bars, my shocks, my tire pressure, all these things to help that. So let's just say you don't need that big, huge 17-inch tire. How do I determine what width of tire I need to run, and what brand, and what size, and all these things, compounds? There's hundreds of, if not thousands of combinations of tires you can run. So once I determine how much room I have, I'll look into the weight of the car. There's, you know, all these manufacturers that create stiff sidewall tires for heavier cars. You might need a stiffer sidewall. You can run a non-stiff sidewall tire on a heavier car, but it's going to get beat up really fast. You're not going to have the length of tire life that you're looking for. So having a stiffer sidewall is going to help you run that tire longer. So if that's the case, you need to look at that, and that'll help narrow down all these choices. So let's start with the brand. So they come in and they say, well, I don't know, I don't even know what to run. Do I run a Mickey? Do I run a Hoosier? Do I run a Goodyear? There's all these companies that make awesome tires, but what do I need to run? Well, the first question I'm going to ask is, what do the guys run that are fast? Now, I'm not talking the guy that goes out, hits a home run, sets a record every 60 laps or something like that, but what does the guy who consistently goes down the track really fast, what brand does he run? Now, that'll be our starting point. If he runs a Mickey, let's start with the Mickey. You know, he's had success on it. There's no reason why you can't have success. And I'm not saying that's going to be the end-all, be-all of the greatest tire that you can put on, but it's going to be a great starting point. So let's start with that. That'll help narrow it down to where we're not looking at Hoosiers, we're not looking at Goodyears, we're not looking at anything. We're going to look at all the Mickeys. And then we can look at our sizes that fit in the car, our stiff sidewall. That's going to narrow it down to where we narrow it down to 5 or 6 different tires that we can run. Then we start looking at compounds, and that helps narrow down what tire we're going to put on. It's not that difficult to help select the best tire for your car. So with that being said, you need to keep in mind you're not going to hit the home run probably on the first try. So trying different things, that's just part of it. You know, that's why we test. You can find an edge over that guy. But more than likely, the guy who consistently goes down the track fast and clean and is not blowing the tires off, he may not set a record every time, but he's going down the track fast. So that's where you want to start. More than likely, that guy has put in the time. He's tried all these different combinations. There's a reason why that tire's on his car. So once we figure out what tire we're going to put on the car, you don't want to just go slap it on there, go to the track. There's other things that you need to look at. You need to think of what tire pressure you're going to run. A lot of the manufacturers will tell you the different scenarios of what tire pressure, if you're going to run a 10 PSI, if you're going to be 6, if you're going to be 8, whatever it is, they'll let you know what tire pressure works best at your weight with that tire. It's just a matter of asking them. Now, once you know that, what I do is I will check the rollout. Now, the rollout is the circumference measurement all the way around the tire at run pressure. So let's just say our tire is going to be 7 PSI when we go to the track and run it. What I'll do is I'll mount the wheels up, mount the tires on, and I'll air it up to 5 PSI above that. So I'll air it up to 12 PSI, I'll let it sit for half an hour, get everything acclimated, and then I'll deflate it and I'll pressure it back up to our 7 PSI. And then I take our handy dandy fabric tape measure that's nice and flexible, and I'll tape it on and I'll roll the tire out and I'll get an accurate measurement of what the circumference is of that tire. I'll check the other side, and if they're any kind of difference, I'll try to make them exactly the same. If you just bolt these tires on, I've seen the same tire size be an inch different, an inch and a half different of circumference. That's gonna give you issues of driving left or right, depending on which side you put that tire on. So you need to look at the rollout. And if it's different, I will take the smallest tire, I'll air it back up to that 12 PSI or whatever the number is, let it sit for an hour, set it out in the sun if it's a sunny day. Get that tire to stretch out, then I'll deflate it again, go back to my 7 PSI, measure it again. You may not hit it right on the first try, but if you keep tweaking it, you can get those tires to be exactly the same. Then I'll put them on and we'll go to the track. Now, once they're on the car, you don't want to forget about that. You want to keep checking that periodically. I check it every weekend just to keep that consistency down. The thing is, if you're sitting in the staging lanes for 2 hours and it's 95 degrees outside and you got your tires aired up, sitting there waiting and the sun's blaring in on your passenger side, that tire is going to grow sitting in the staging lanes. So you need to keep an eye on that to where it's not going to end up biting you 3 runs, 6 runs, 10 runs later. And the other thing you want to keep track of is how many runs are on those tires. Now you see guys that they can't even tell you how many runs are on their tires, and that's bad. So bad. I keep track of every single pass that are on these tires, whether it's taking a paint marker on the inside of the tire, just doing a mark every lap, whatever it takes to keep track of that number, so that when you see your 60 foot time fall off and you haven't changed anything, you can say, well, it's probably the tires going away. Once I figure out how many runs that takes, whether it's 10 laps, whether it's 15, 40, like whatever that number is, I know that's my tire life. So once I get close to that number, if I'm at, if 40 laps is where the tires go away and we're sitting at 38 getting ready to go to the next race, I'm thinking, why don't I put new tires on right now? Because I'm going to be at the track, go through qualifying, the tires are going to be going away during race day. I don't want to deal with that. So keeping track of that number and knowing how long your life is huge on your tires. So now that you know what tire you're going to run, what kind of wheel do we need? You can be your standard wheel that's just, you throw it on, air it up, and the bead seals it. So you can be from that to your beadlock wheel, to your liner wheel, lots of different scenarios. Once you know the tire, you'll know what width of wheel you need, what diameter wheel you need, and then you can check your wheel spacing. If you need to change your backspace to get that wheel centered in your wheel tub, you can do those measurements then, especially your bolt pattern. Bolt patterns, I see it not measured correctly quite a bit. They'll measure from stud to stud and not actually the bolt center. You want to measure the center. So if you took, say you think you're a 5-on-5, you take a 5-inch tube and put it up on your centers, it should hit the center of every one of those lug studs if it's actually a 5-inch bolt circle. That's just an easy way to check it. So you want to make sure that you're getting the right wheel that's going to fit on your car. Now the different scenarios of wheel combinations can be your standard wheel. If I'm 15 PSI of tire pressure or higher, I'll run a standard wheel. There's no problem with that. If I want to be less than that, you can start doing your wheel screws, where you screw through the wheel into the bead. Now you got to be careful to not puncture everything, but there's ways to get that wheel from spinning on your tire to locking it in solid. So you can go from a standard wheel to your standard wheel with your wheel screws. The next step would be to go to a beadlock wheel. Your beadlock wheel is going to clamp that bead to the wheel with however many bolts are on. There could be 19, there could be 21, whatever that number is. That's going to smash that bead and make it mechanically solid to the wheel. These are very, very common. There's lots of companies that makes great beadlock wheels and many combinations and styles. So with the beadlock wheel, you need to take care in when you're putting the tire on it. You can't just run the beadlock bolts down one after the other. You can't just blow that stuff together. There's a process to it where you want to keep that beadlock wheel, the rim, consistently going down in a smooth fashion. And once you get it close, the companies will tell you the torque spec on those beadlock bolts. And there's usually a 3-step process where if it's the end is 23 foot-pounds, you'll start with like 17, then you'll go to 19, then you go to your final number. Once you get it torqued down and put on, you can't just forget about it either. I like to check it after we've made a pass. So if you're out there, most of the time, if you got a beadlock wheel, you're running some big mile an hour and really hauling. So that tire is going to stretch out, which tries to straighten it out in that beadlock, to where if you come back after a pass and check it again, I'd almost guarantee that you need to re-torque that beadlock again to get it to smash that bead. So I like to check it every 2 laps or so until I know that it's not moving anymore. Once I check it and the torque wrench clicks right away, then I know, okay, it's set. I don't have to check it every 2 laps. I'll check it every weekend then. The next step up is your liner wheel. The liner wheel, I see a lot of the pro mod guys jump into. They say it helps with, stopping tire shake 100 feet, 150 feet out on the track. So the liner wheel is actually an inner tube inside the tire that mechanically locks that bead. So there's no beadlock bolts. There's 2 tire pressure stems, one for the inner liner and one for the outer pressure. The inner liner has a lot more pressure. We're not running 7 PSI in the inner liner wheel. We're running that on the outside of it. So that's going to lock your tire from spinning on the wheel. The only downside is it adds a lot of weight, a lot of rotating weight to your tire wheel combination. So there's hundreds of combinations, but hopefully this gave you some information on what wheel I need to run, what tire I need to run, what kind of wheelie bar I need to use, what material to make it from, all these things that if you just think about it in a step-by-step process, it's not that hard to figure out. And if you have some questions, give us a call. We'd love to help you. That's what we're here for, is to get you guys out there hauling butt, kicking and taking names. So that's why we're here. We want to see all of our customers go out and just dominate, and we're here for you guys. So like I said, it's a value exchange. If this helped you, help us. Give us a share, give us a like, leave a comment, tell us what you want us to talk about. We're here for you guys. So like always, I appreciate the support, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.